Now, this one is a neat one. Do you know anyone who has urinary tract infections or diabetes, or what's the real thing? The real thing is urinary stones, for gallstones and urinary stones. This is a real weed, and you all have this. You should all recognize it. It looks like a little tiny miniature raw poinsettia when it comes up. There's little tiny balls that make up the bloom on it. It grows everywhere. If you have a yard, you have this.
Oh, it's a weed.
You know, it's a weed.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a tremendous weed. Yeah, make it that high, and where you're fertilizing and not pulling. But this thing made into a tea. Strip off maybe a little ball of it, like so I have a golf ball, throw in a cup, steep it in water, and drink it. It is an absolute healing thing for ulcer, for gallbladder stones and urinary stones. Absolutely. It's just, there's no way around it. It just absolutely cures urinary tract stones and infections and all kinds of stuff. And I did this, I gave this talk, or one similar to this, for the Rare Fruit and Vegetable Council. And when I picked up the plant and I started to, I can pass it around if you want. When I picked up the plant, held in the air, this girl in the back of the room jumped up in the air. She says, "That's Stonebreaker," before I even had a word out of my mouth. She said, "I come from Brazil." And she said, "I had to come to the United States to find out you had to be operated on for kidney stones, because nobody in Brazil is. They just walk out in the yard and grab a handful and do it."
Yeah.
How long does it take though?
Roughly, according to, I got Crafton back in the story again. Crafton was in Ecuador, way up in the mountains someplace, and he hiked in, so it was like 5 days coming out, and he got a kidney stone. And he went to the local shaman, which had on blue jeans and a shawl over the top of his head, a couple of feathers or whatever. And he says, Crafton, you know. And he grabbed it, takes him out, pulls up all the weeds, and says, "Tea." And so Crafton made a tea that night. And in 36 hours, his kidney stones were gone. So he made the tea over and over again. He just didn't do it once. He kept making it maybe 4 or 5 times a day. It is a euphorbia. So you want to take your first cupful cautiously.
So you just take this and dump it in the hot water?
Hot water, yeah. The whole thing. Clean the roots off, clean the dirt off. You don't want to eat root knot. But
Okay, get rid of the root and just dump the whole thing in.
Yeah. And try it. If you have somebody who gets this stuff on a regular basis, this also works as a preventative.
Okay, but any of these things you're talking about, you could do a tea with, basically just dump the thing in. Like
Yeah,
that.
mully the leaves a little
I
bit.
drink tea, yeah.
Well, unless you have the problem, you know, there's no sense doing it. Because,
Taste bad?
what's that?
Taste bad?
That one I haven't tried.
It's good for them,
I think it, well, it probably doesn't taste good because it's a euphorbia. Euphorbias are crown of thorns and pencil trees and all this kind of stuff. But if you have someone that has that, it's really worth a try. I mean, Mary Newstein that runs it, doesn't run it, but she's the person that puts together the talks and stuff for Fairchild Tropical Garden. Her husband had these, and he didn't have courage enough to take the wild ones. But he went into a Chinese apothecary and he got the pill. He got it in pill form. And you can buy it in Latin grocery stores. They sell it in a plastic bag, sealed up at the top, dried up. Go ahead, which one? Stonebreaker. And so the dried stuff works just as well. And he took it. It took him 3 weeks to get rid of his stones, or 2 weeks or something. Whereas the fresh stuff probably would have done it almost immediately. So that's in your backyard.